Throughout the course of our careers, we dancers perform many different roles, some that suit us, and some that do not. There are roles that encourage growth, roles that allow for the expression of our true selves, and roles that do not. Today, in our second lesson, the dancers will be sharing with you experiences of the roles that they have performed on stage, roles that most often do not align with their gender and/or sexual identity. They will share with you how these experiences have shaped them as artists and as individuals. Thank you for joining us as we continue our journey out from the wings. How did the roles that you played as a dancer, or did they or didn't they match with your sexual and your sexual identity?
Again, going into my size, I was always the partner that lifted everybody. I was always the person to where I had to dance with the female, and my partner was always a female, and so on and so forth. It was never, I think I only did one male group piece, but it wasn't to where I'm lifting or carrying or something in that thing.
So you're always the man lifting the woman, carrying the woman around, supporting the woman.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel, just being sort of set in that particular role all the time?
It just makes you feel like you're a prop instead of one of the dancers in the group.
How important is it to you to have the opportunity to have a role that aligns with your gender identity? Like if you were to
Oh God,
dance,
yes.
what do you think that would
I think
feel
I
like?
I would be excited. I would be so like motivated where like if I'm dancing with another guy and we're doing all these crazy things and we're almost like equals, that's awesome.
Do you feel when you're on stage and you're lifting and partnering with women that you're more of something showcasing the girl, that you're sort of invisible up there? Or
Yes, I think that's what it is. Every time that I was partnering with a girl, of course she's what everybody's seeing. It's I'm just doing the heavy work to make her look good.
how important is it to you as an audience member, or would it be to you to see a gay relationship portrayed on stage in dance?
I think that would be amazing. I think to this day, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
So you had told me before about, you mentioned a little bit about the piece that you got to do where you actually got to partner with other men on stage.
It's very, very unique, very different. We are running in darkness, and you have to find this light pulse and so you have to be in the middle to do these amazing shapes and whatever. And then I was I think I'm gonna say the smallest out of the three. So hey, I got to be lifted the most. It was amazing. I actually had the opportunity. I was thinking about a dance that 4 guys at the nightclub, we danced in heels with like little shorts, and like it was very sexy, very masculine, but wearing like feminine stuff. And I actually, that solo that I'm gonna be presenting in Vegas is very masculine, but I'm wearing a skirt.
Me, when I go on stage, I am in that character. I am in the zone. I don't even see the people in the audience. I see lights, and that's it. Honestly, I play that character and I entertain and I tell a story. That's my job as the dancer, the performer.
How does that compare when you're able to play a role that does match with your sexual identity and where you're able to be more just your genuine self? How does that compare for you?
It's definitely a little more exciting because now I'm like, oh, I'm being myself. So now I get to play with the actual textures a little bit more because this is me.
Yeah.
And tell me about the audiences you performed to. What type of venues did you? I mean, you said you traveled a lot, so it sounds like you went to some interesting places. Tell me about the venue.
Most venues were gay. Most venues were gay rodeos, bars that hosted us.
How significant do you think it was for your audience members, and how significant would it be for you as an audience member to see yourself represented on the stage as you're watching a performance?
Well, that was what made it really, kind of exciting and fun. What was most fun for me was joy, because I was really hard on myself those years. I could tell you, I had to work very hard. And so to be able to have joy and come out of my box and perform was just so freeing for me. I had so much fun.
Have you ever had the opportunity to play a non-binary role? And what do you think that would be like if you had that opportunity?
I think it'd be amazing. I think it would be so fun. I think that there could be so many possibilities with that. If you give that role to anyone, the outcomes of that would be beautiful, because it's just what that person wants to bring to it. Non-binary means non-binary to me. That's all that it means. I mean, that's not very descriptive, but
It is what it is.
it is what it's like. You could just do what you like, and the beauty of art is that you can pull up to that performance one day and choose to do that masculine, or the next day choose to do it feminine. It doesn't mean that you're not that character.
How do you think? How do you think it affects other, you and other LGBTQI dancers and also audience members to not see themselves reflected in the art dance?
Very limiting, because for someone who wants to explore their gender and explore their sexuality, it's hard when that's your world. There isn't any other. Like, we know it that there are other people out there, but in delving into the arts and dance, there's no room for it.
I started reading this book, Gender and Dance, and this French picture. I don't know if you've ever seen this
Yes.
piece. So that's
That
the
is-
Matthew Bourne Swan Lake.
I did done that.
This was the first piece I ever saw where I felt I saw my community reflected on stage. It was so affirming to see the relationship of the prince and the swan on stage. It was just I can't even put into words
I want to get that.
what it changed for me
Right.
as an audience member and as a dancer to see myself reflected on stage. Did you ever feel that because of that pressure to perform, to act, to train more feminine, did it ever, and I'm asking you this because this is something I went through, did it ever make you question what was in your own head about your own identity?
100%. 100%. I feel like I also grew up in a community that was very bubble. So that played a role. But then also within that, there were many of times where, for instance, as a female, if there weren't enough boys, I was asked to dress as a boy to play like the male role in those dances. And I would feel this sense of like excitement and euphoria in my body, and it felt so comfortable and it felt good, and then in my mind I'd be like, oh, I'm feeling this way, like this is exciting, but also like, no, I can't be like that, like that's not it, you know what I mean? I'm a girl, I have to be feminine, I have to do this, like I'm gonna put on my lipstick, throw my hair in a bun, and put on my sparkly costume with my fishnet tights and my character shoes and go, and it was it made things a lot more confusing because it was hard to differentiate how much of it was me playing a character and understanding that character and how much of it was me as a person actually feeling that way.
For me personally, when I began my professional career, I identified as lesbian, and I relate to so much of what you're saying, and pushed myself so hard to dance the feminine role with the fish tights, the heels, and it got to the point where I convinced myself I was not transgender because I felt if I can do this, then I must not be trans.
Right, you're further away from it.
Right, and I wonder if you felt that way about your identity. If I can perform this role as they're asking, then am I really who I think I am?
Exactly. Or like there was a dance where I was playing a boy and I had to kiss a girl, but like my hand like covered her lips. So I kissed my hand. And it was this girl I had a crush on. I didn't know I had a crush on her at the time, but like hindsight, I was like so into this girl. And I accidentally kissed her on the lips on accident. And then I didn't pull away when I was supposed to. And like my brain was like, like magic and fireworks. And I was like, oh, no, that was just the character. Like, that's not me. That was the character. And like that disassociation from who you actually are, because you're technically playing a character, also makes it very confusing.
Yeah.
And kind of like forces you to take a step away from just being like, this is me, like in this moment, feeling and experiencing these things.
Yeah.
And I definitely think it kind of like slows down the process a little bit of self-discovery. You're asked to bring a certain aspect of yourself and your trauma and your experiences to a piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
And when dancing and being asked to play straight roles or characters or portray those types of relationships and connections with people, they're always, you can pull on that, but it doesn't feel authentic to you. It feels like you're playing a character. It feels like your steps away from who you actually are. And it kind of takes away that out of body experience that people tend to have when they're performing, where they just feel so invested and into it, because you're a step away from you. You're a step away from what's authentic, and you're a step away from what feels genuine and real. And, when I was in the company, the queer company, and this specific show was discussing our personal stories, dancing to voiceovers of how we came out, dancing to songs that we liked when we were kids that we didn't realize were kind of like little nudges that we were gay. It was just such a liberatingly different experience to, one, physically be dressed as you would present yourself in daily life, and then to explore relationships and connect in intimate ways through movement with people in a way that just felt real and natural and not forced.
One of my first dance experiences actually with Tamia was a burlesque show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so liberating. And I think that was really like the seed that sort of like made me think more deeply about what's going on. You know what I mean? Yeah, because it was very gender bent. It was very, very gender bent and very fluid in its presentation. Mm-hmm. So that was like a really important experience for me.
Right. How important do you think it is for, audience members, LGBTQIA, non-binary audience members, to see their experiences, to see themselves represented up on stage?
I mean, I think it's important for everyone, period, to see their experiences on stage. You know what I mean? I think that the idea of like a neutral body, right? This idea that like there's a kind of like neutrality to the body is like false, patently. Like there's always information that comes from bodies, and seeing them reflect your own experiences, even if it's very abstractly, is super duper duper important, because it also sends a message about like what that form values.
Now that you've listened to our stories about the roles that we have played, I ask you again to take some time for reflection. How have the roles that you have had to play affected you and your life? I also ask you to join us for our next lesson, where we will be discussing the importance of our relationships with other dancers to our art and to our lives. Thank you again for joining us.